children from single-parent families like you, being poor, it's only natural you'd be last in line. And for someone who's supposedly so free, you can't even wait 4 hours. Don't you think that's a bit narrow-minded? I had an errand at the bank and unfortunately ran into a former classmate there who had always looked down on me. To make matters worse, he was the one working at the counter that day. Despite having taken a number, my turn was deliberately skipped. I repeatedly asked him when it would be my turn, but he kept dodging the question. In the end, I was called 4 hours later. He had no idea who I was calling, while I could no longer bear the wait. And then, he was about to face a hellish ordeal. My name is Jason. I was raised by my mother alone, in what you'd call a single-parent family. We became a single-parent family because my father passed away from illness when I was in kindergarten. My mother, previously a stay-at-home mom, had to start working to support us and became a career woman. I wanted to help with the finances, but as a little kid, there wasn't much I could do, so I decided to help with housework instead. Mom, I'll take care of the cooking and laundry. I'll never forget the look on my mother's face when I said that. Her eyes seemed to say, "What is this kid talking about?" At first, she was against it, citing the dangers of fire and knives, but I insisted on helping. Eventually, she relented and let me take on some of the household chores. Of course, she knew a child in elementary school couldn't handle everything, so I started with tasks like cleaning the bathroom and only helped with cooking when she was there to supervise. The agreement was that I wouldn't do any cooking alone until I was older. Gradually, I learned to cook, and by the time I entered middle school, my mom allowed me to cook on my own, entrusting me with all the household chores. But I felt the weight of housework. I respected those who did it daily, even as a kid. Growing up this way, I didn't play with friends after school much. Preferring to help my mom, I often declined invitations, leading to some isolation in my class. Particularly from Ken, a classmate who always mocked me. "Jason, my mom said your family is a single-parent one." "Yeah, it is. My mom said that single-parent families never lead to a good life." When he said that smugly, I retorted, "You should probably stop calling your mom mommy. We're not little kids anymore." That made Ken throw a tantrum. Since then, Ken intensified his mockery. If I was using a short pencil, he ridiculed me by saying, "Can't afford new pencils." Being from a single-parent home, and if my sweater had a small fray, he'd quip, "Can't get a new one, can you?" Despite the pencil still being usable and the sweater having just a minor snag. Finding such trivial matters, Ken would taunt me, insinuating it was due to my single-parent background. "I can still use these, and it's just a small fray," I'd respond. But he'd just laugh and retort, "Sure, because you're a poor kid from a single-parent home." It seemed he relished using the term single-parent family excessively. This behavior persisted into middle school, with him greeting me in the hallways, "Hey, Jason from the single-parent family." By then, I simply ignored him. It was too bothersome to engage. In place of me, someone else started to stand up to Ken. "Ken, enough is enough," she would yell on my behalf. That person was my classmate, Emily. I first met Emily when I was at the supermarket, pondering what to make for dinner while picking out ingredients. She happened to be shopping at the same supermarket and approached me, calling out, "Jason." She was shopping for snacks at the same supermarket and approached me, noticing my basket full of groceries. "Running errands, that's impressive." "No, just picking up ingredients for tonight's dinner and thinking of making some side dishes." "Side dishes?" Her astonished reaction made me chuckle. "It's just me and my mom at home. She's always busy working, so I handle all the housework." "What? You cook too?" "Absolutely." "Jason, you're amazing." "I don't do anything." "Well, I guess that's normal. We're just middle schoolers, after all." Emily chuckled at my response, seemingly unsure how to react. I was used to such reactions, so I added, "Well, I enjoy doing it, so it's okay." After that, Emily started to show concern for me, saying things like, "Jason, I've recently started learning to cook too." Whenever Ken would hassle me, she'd defend me fiercely, saying, "Even if Jason is from a single-parent home, he's working hard. He doesn't deserve to be spoken to like that by someone like you. If you have a complaint, try being more hard-working than him first." Every time this happened, I would thank Emily, concerned that neglecting my studies would reflect poorly on my mother's upbringing. I worked as hard as I could in my studies too. Whenever I didn't understand something, I would ask Emily, classmates, or teachers. Time flew by, and before I knew it, 3 years had passed, and it was our graduation day. Emily called me aside. "Watching you excel in cooking, studying, and cleaning, I realized how amazing you are. That's why I've come to like you, Jason. Would you go out with me?" she confessed. "I've always liked you, Emily, for always standing up for me and helping me out. I'd be happy to be with you." I expressed my sincere feelings, and we became a couple. Years passed since middle school, and now in my late 20s, I visited my main bank, Bennett Bank, for an errand. My ticket number was 36, and the current service number was 33. Just 3 more people. I should be called soon, I thought, sitting down to wait. But after an hour, my number still hadn't been called. Although the person with ticket 35 was taking unusually long, I thought it was understandable since it was a bank matter. During that time, I worked on my laptop, replied to work emails, played games on my cell phone, browsed social media, and watched videos. Finally, the person with 35 left the counter. Finally my turn, I thought, putting away my phone and gripping my ticket. Then unexpectedly, skipping ahead to ticket number 37, "Please come to the counter," was announced, and the screen showed 37. What? I was stunned as the person with 37 went to the counter. Maybe they were in a hurry and asked to go first. Yes, that must be it. Otherwise, they wouldn't skip numbers, I reasoned, sitting back down. But there was one thing troubling me. When I took my ticket, I noticed the name of today's counter attendant was Ken. Remembering a classmate with the same name, I glanced at the counter and realized it was indeed him. I almost instinctively called out to Ken, so much did he resemble the person I remembered from middle school. Despite not having seen Ken since we graduated, the resemblance was uncanny. So he ended up working at this bank. And to find him at this particular branch was completely unexpected. But Ken was the guy who always used to mock me for being from a single-parent family. Worried that Ken might say something if he recognized me, I discreetly moved away to avoid eye contact. When it was my turn at the counter, I planned to keep the interaction brief and professional, hoping to avoid any unnecessary comments. Although I thought it unlikely, I couldn't help but wonder if Ken might harass me here, at the bank, but realistically, it had been decades since we graduated, and this was his workplace. I reasoned that he wouldn't engage in such behavior on the job, but still, there was a lingering doubt. Still, my number, 36, wasn't called. Now they were calling 38. Ken seemed unfazed, continuing his work as if nothing was going on. Maybe I'll be called next, I thought, pulling out my phone again. But no. My number wasn't called. The counter was now serving 60. Of course, I approached the counter. "Excuse me, I'm number 36. Am I being called soon?" Ken, without looking up, replied, "You're next or so. We're just a bit out of order today. But the next person is 45 and I have 36. Ticket number 45, please come to the counter," was announced. My complaints were completely ignored. I wondered if that's really how the bank staff should act. Because Ken didn't help, I asked another female staff member, but all I got were responses like, "Please wait," and "I'll inform the person in charge." I had to suppress a mental retort, annoyed that no one else would assist me. I had been at the bank for nearly 2 hours already. It looked like my only option was to keep waiting. With that thought, I settled in to wait again. I opened my work laptop and began doing some work while keeping an eye on the counter. It was almost 3 p.m., the closing time for the bank's counter service. I had been at Bennett Bank for about 4 hours. In the end, my number was never called, and I heard a clattering noise. Looking towards the counter, I saw to my surprise that they had begun packing up. "Wait, what?" I exclaimed, hurriedly packing my laptop and rushing to Ken's counter. "Hey, I haven't been called yet." When I showed Ken my ticket, he sneered. "Oh, my bad. I thought it'd be funny to call the poor guy from a single-parent home last, but I totally forgot about you," he laughed. "So he did it intentionally." Frustrated, I said, "You told me I'd be called next several times." "I said I thought I could call you next, not that I would," he replied. "Jason, being poor and from a single-parent home, it's natural for you to be last. You probably don't have anything important anyway. Can't you just wait? The bank isn't a charity. You're too narrow-minded if you can't wait," he mocked. I was stunned by Ken's attitude. He knew about my family, made me wait 4 hours, and didn't apologize. And in the end, he's suggesting that my inability to wait is a sign of my narrow-mindedness. I made up my mind. "Fine, I get it. I'm done here. If you want, I can help you now, but since it's past 3 p.m., you'll have to come back another day," he said, still laughing. Disappointed with Bennett Bank for allowing such behavior, I left without another word. Then, I made a phone call. The next day, David, the manager of Bennett Bank, was at my doorstep. "Mr. Ford, please reconsider closing your account with our bank. Sorry, but I've already decided." "Please." David was quite persistent, continuing this back and forth, but my decision remained unchanged. The person I called yesterday was David, the branch manager of the bank I went to. During that call, I informed him of my intention to close my account with Bennett Bank. He was shocked. "After all these years, why, Mr. Ford? I received unacceptable service at your counter. I can't trust your bank anymore," I said before hanging up. I'm not sure if David heard about what happened at the bank, but he contacted me again that night. He requested, "Please let me talk to you tomorrow morning." True to his word, David actually came to my house the next day. He seemed to know everything that had happened. David was sweating profusely, wiping his forehead with a handkerchief. "Our counter staff did something inexcusable. Ken was recently transferred and didn't know about you. We'll fire Ken. He's been problematic even at his previous branch, receiving complaints and causing issues. We will definitely fire him today, effective immediately. He won't bother you again, and we'll do anything else you need. Please reconsider closing your account. It's not your fault, David. You weren't there, but the fact that Ken himself isn't here to apologize, I don't feel any sincerity," I replied calmly. "Then, I'll have Ken come and apologize. Shouldn't he have been the first to come? His behavior towards me yesterday was seen by others. It's unacceptable, both as a bank employee and as an adult." "Well, I did tell him to come along." David's gaze was darting around nervously. I figured Ken probably said something like, "There's no way I'm apologizing to Jason," and bailed. Jason. I turned around to find Emily there. We'd been together since graduating from middle school and started living together after university. "Harrison Bank is willing to accept all our deposits on the terms you set. They want to start the procedure right away," she informed me. "Got it, thanks." "So, David, I'm sorry, but we're moving all our deposits to Harrison Bank under better terms, so I can't reverse the account closure. Please proceed with the process," I said firmly. David finally seemed to accept it, looking dejected as he left. David seemed to have aged about 20 years all at once. Maybe it was just because he already had gray hair, but that's the impression I got. In the spirit of strike while the iron is hot, Emily and I headed straight to Harrison Bank. I muttered, I hope I didn't do David from Bennett Bank wrong. Emily quickly said, no way. Ken is the worst, and the bank let it happen. Plus, Ken never even apologized. He hasn't changed since middle school. I always appreciated that aspect of Emily, unchanged from the past. Well, our business with Bennett Bank is over, and we won't have to deal with them anymore. Let's leave it at that. Maybe you're okay with it, Jason, but I'm not. If I find Ken, I won't let him off, Emily said, mockingly practicing punches. I hoped for a more peaceful approach. As we arrived at Harrison Bank, we were shocked to see who was there. Ken, what's he doing here? There stood Ken. He was wearing a suit, but it appeared somewhat dirty. He approached us quickly when he saw us. Jason, it's all your fault, he began shouting. Why would a poor guy like you deposit $5 billion at our bank and then transfer it to another bank? What's that about? I'm moving banks because of your attitude yesterday, I replied. What, you, from a single-parent home, must be poor. That $5 billion must be dirty money. How did someone like you even get that much? It's all clean money. I'm running a company with Emily now. That's how we earned it. Ken was losing his cool. You might not know, but our company, Help Rabbit, is doing really well, Emily said. Help Rabbit? Isn't that the home service company I've seen on TV commercials? Jay, that's my company. Actually, Emily and I run a company together, which specializes in home service. Growing up in a single-parent household, I was responsible for all the household chores. I deeply understood the difficulty of managing home tasks. That's why, inspired by this, Emily and I started our own company after graduating from college, offering home service. This venture turned out to be a huge success, and now, my savings amount to $5 billion. Ken, get it, Jason's not poor anymore, and you lost your job at the bank because of how you looked down on him. You're stuck in the past, and that's why this happened, Emily said, looking down on Ken. Ken just crumbled right there. Afterward, we successfully changed our main bank to Harrison Bank. Ethan, the branch manager, was overjoyed, giving us a warm welcome. When we entered the meeting room, there was a banner saying, "Welcome, Mr. Ford," and even Mr. Thompson, the head of Harrison Bank, came personally to thank us. Thank you for choosing our bank. We will support you for life, he said. We shook hands. I vividly remembered the stark contrast in treatment compared to Bennett Bank. Though a bit overwhelmed by the commitment, I was looking forward to our new dealings with Harrison Bank. Later, Ken actually showed up at my house once, begging, "I apologize for everything. Please ask David to ignore my firing." "No, it's too late for apologies," I firmly replied. "Then, can you employ me at your company? We were classmates, right?" When he tried to plead again, Emily said, "It's too late for that, you two-faced jerk. Don't you dare come back here again." Then, he fled the scene. I later heard rumors about Ken. He tried to get a job at another bank, but apparently, his reputation for unbelievable customer service had spread, and he couldn't find employment at any bank. This led him to a path of despair, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. Ken apparently even had a fiancée, but after losing his bank job, they broke up. The fiancée was the daughter of a high-ranking officer at the Bennett Bank, so marrying her might have helped Ken's career, but that opportunity was lost too. Now, he's neither returned to his hometown or been heard from, effectively missing. Despite it being his own doing, I couldn't help but feel sympathy for his tragic end. Meanwhile, Emily and I continued to work hard as usual. Our company, Help Rabbit, currently offers 2 service plans: an affordable easy plan for regular families and a more expensive luxury plan with enhanced services. I suggested to Emily that we might create a new plan, somewhere between these two. Emily thought it was a good idea, saying, "Each family has different financial situations and needs. Maybe we should offer a customized service plan tailored to their specific desires." Inspired by her suggestion and our company's financial stability, I thought it was a good time to explore new customer segments with this new plan. We surveyed our employees and listened to their insights and customer feedback. While conducting surveys on social media to brainstorm ideas for our new service, I came across an online news article. It was about the reality of young caregivers. It detailed the challenges young caregivers face, not only in caregiving but also in managing household chores, which adds to their time constraints. I had only considered the burden of caregiving, forgetting about the household chores. Though I never had to care for my mother, I did household chores from a young age and understood their difficulty. These young caregivers are struggling daily with both caregiving and household tasks. I remembered how hard daily chores were and how they left no time for leisure activities. That's when an idea struck me. I thought, if families with young caregivers could also use our housekeeping services, wouldn't it at least reduce the burden of chores? To make it accessible, we could set the price even lower than our easy plan, almost like a volunteer service. That way, it would be affordable for these families. I shared this idea with Emily. "What do you think about this new plan?" "That's a great idea. It fits well with today's social situation, and I'm sure it'll be a hit." Encouraged by her support, I discussed the idea with our team. The response was unanimously positive. "Anything to help these young kids," said our veteran employee, Susan, and others chimed in. "Students should have time for studies and fun. They shouldn't miss out on their youth." Realizing the enthusiasm of our team, I decided to go ahead with the plan. We named this new service for young caregivers the Helper Plan and launched it as our company's latest offering. It was a huge success, with many families reaching out, saying, "Can you help us?" The media attention it garnered, including TV and magazine features, led to an even greater influx of requests. Due to a shortage of staff, I often had to personally visit clients' homes to provide our housekeeping services. Given the frequent requests for male staff, I took the lead in responding to such calls, actively participating in the housekeeping tasks myself. Each time I completed a job and received heartfelt thanks like, "You've really helped us," or "Thank you so much," I felt deeply fulfilled by my work. Our company's performance soared. We hired more male staff, and despite being busy, we lived fulfilling days. And today, after several months, Emily and I finally managed to take a substantial break and went on a trip together. Incidentally, this hotel is quite upscale, so I'm also hoping to pick up some pointers on staff behavior and service for our own business. It's important to absorb and learn from anything that can be a reference for our work. We should adopt the best practices we find and provide even better services. In fact, amidst our busy schedules, Emily and I got married. We have been living together for years since graduating from college. I was completely absorbed in managing the company, and Emily was always there to support me. Marriage had taken a backseat to our busy careers. The incident with Ken was what prompted us to register our marriage. Ever since we met in middle school, Emily had always been more upset than I was when I was ridiculed, always standing up for me. It made me realize I couldn't let someone as wonderful as her go. "Emily, I know it's a bit late, but shall we get married?" She laughed and said, "It really is late, but I'm happy you asked. I'll always be here to protect you, Jason." Indeed, Emily had always been my protector. I hope that from now on, I can protect Emily as well. It would be great if we could continue to support and uplift each other. Being able to relax like this is only possible because we work so hard usually. Really, Emily, thank you for everything. Thank you too, Jason. You've worked hard. We said this, expressing our appreciation for each other. It would be great if we could continue to grow the company. Then maybe people will stop calling you the poor kid from a single-parent home. The irony is, the person who said that the most is now missing. He got what he deserved. Your outcomes were the result of your efforts, not your family background. Yes, as Emily said, one's family background doesn't determine their ability to achieve success. Despite not being raised in a normal family with both parents, I managed to graduate from college, start a company, and achieve smooth business operations. I've personally felt that everything depends on one's efforts. Hard work will surely bring good results. I hope to continue putting in the effort, together with Emily and our employees, to achieve great outcomes.